ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਅੱਛਾ ਚੋਲੇ 'ਚ ਪਿਆ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਿਆ।
बैटरी भी थी सर, बैटरी हाँ दे दो।
चलो हुण आऊगी आवाज। So as much as I like to speak in Punjabi, but today's presentation I'll be doing it in English. I don't speak English, I speak American. You might understand it though. I spoke neither, but ਹੁਣ ਮਜਬੂਰੀ ਹੈ, ਹੁਣ ਕੁਛ ਕਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੈ ਨਾ। All right, so how many of you have heard of Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra? Okay. So each one of us has an opinion about what he did for the Panth and his contributions. In a sense, why are they so unique? Why are they so inspiring? Why are they so they take us back to those days, ਜਦੋਂ Gursikhs used to be so steadfast. They wouldn't give up. They just, not because they were ziddi, it was because they were so confident, they were unshakable in their faith. And even if it meant death, for them, death wasn't a big challenge. They just looked at that as if somebody would change their chola, and that's it. So what? If I'm no longer using this chola, I'm going to get a new one maybe. Whenever Guruji pleases, will bless me with another chola. So if Guruji is his will is to, his hukam is to give me a new chola, take this chola away from me for the sake of those siddhant, those principles, so be it. My head belongs to the Guru. The Guru is all powerful and I wish to remain in his hukam and his pana. I want to give it up. It doesn't even belong to me. So with that background, I would like to start. So this presentation is two parts. The first part is a brief history, and the second part are some important clips of what he said, how he said it, what he meant, and how passionate he was when he was speaking. I think we need to hear it from Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra than me giving you a version of it. It's very important because it is so inspiring, it is so awakening, it is so powerful. It makes us so much in awe of these Gursikhs who sacrificed their lives for the sake of the Panth. So the first part is back in the 1990s, I should say back in the 1980s, Punjab was witnessing a large-scale trauma. Young Sikhs were being hunted, and anybody with a Khulla Dada or a Kesari Dastar or an Amritdhari Gursikh, didn't matter if it was a Singh or a Bibi or a youth or an older person. It was just a matter of, this image of an Amritdhari would mean that he is trouble. And because he is trouble, the state was empowered to take these people off the streets, take them off, remove them from the villages, and whatever it took. And a lot of these young Sikhs resisted the government's tyranny. And because the Sikhs were resisting the government's tyranny, it was an armed conflict. Some people refer to it as a period of militancy. But it was not a period of militancy. It was a battle of unequals. Here were some, Ginti, there was a small number of Gursikhs fighting against the whole Indian state, the paraphernalia, of the whole modern equipment used in warfare. And but still, Sikhs take pride in this period. We call it the golden era, even though some Indians would call it the dark time. I don't believe that was the dark time. I think it was the golden era where a small number of Gursikhs were able to challenge the Indian state and did it very successfully. With treason, with a lot of tokha, we weren't successful in achieving our goals from a political sense, but from a sense of this deep faith, I think we were successful. We didn't give up. We were ruthlessly suppressed, but so be it. That's all right. We will rise again. And that's what Khalra ji's life inspires us to do, to rise again. And how do we rise again? It was very, I didn't realize this, by the way, that back then when Gursikhs were hunted and they were targeted just for being Sikhs and Amritdharis, there were some sellouts too who looked like Amritdharis, and the government didn't do anything to them. But these were people who refused to give up their goals. So they were targeted, and I didn't realize this till recently, that when I use the term fake encounters, most of you don't understand what a fake encounter means. What even an encounter means, in English, when we use the word encounter, it's like, encountering somebody. You go meet someone and that's an encounter. But in this sense, encounter is, listen to this carefully. I get arrested just because I believe in something. I've expressed my opinion someplace. Somebody has overheard me and reported me to the police. They come and they get me. And then they get me, they take me to the police station, and there they start to torture me. They start to bring me pain and suffering. There are different ways how they would hurt someone. And in the end, if somebody gave in or they said, all right, please don't hurt me, I'm going to help you, they would let them go and use them as what we used to call them back then as touts. They became police informers. They were the weak-hearted. But then people who were strong, they were able to bear the torture with grace, with dignity, they resisted all that pain, and when they didn't give up, the police would resort to third-degree tortures. Third-degree tortures. I'm going to give you an example. I'm sure some of you have heard of the name of Navneet Singh Kadiya, by Navneet Singh Kadiya. He died, he became a Shaheed in a real encounter in Rajasthan. I was told by his family that when he was underground, the cops were trying to track him and they were not able to find him. They arrested his mother. They arrested his mother. They brought her to the police station. In order to bring pain to her, Sumed Sani, you might have heard of Sumed Sani, the police officer who was responsible for killing hundreds of thousands of Gursikhs in Punjab, when he would come into the interrogation center, he would put on golf shoes. You'll ask me, what's different about golf shoes? If you have worn golf shoes, they have spikes in the bottoms. They have long spikes. And he would put those golf shoes on, and for that, by Navneet Singh Kadia's mom, cops would stretch her on the floor with her hands outstretched, and he would step on her palms, on her hands to bring her pain. We can't even imagine, how to create a means to give someone such pain. But these police, coming, working under the instructions of the Indian state, that's the extent they went to. This old woman, what purpose would it solve to hurt her so much? But then when the Gursikhs didn't give in, they were taken to a field, they were shot in the head, and then when they were dead, they would place a police weapon or a weapon from someplace else next to them, and they would give out the news that these Sikhs died in a gunfight with the police. That gunfight was the encounter. But the only problem was that it was all staged. It was fake. It was fake. It was all a drama. The Sikh was killed for his beliefs after third-degree torture, and eventually, when he died, the news would come out. The police would claim the reward money and so on and so forth. Some of them, the family was even informed that your loved one was just killed by the police. And this is where Sardar Khalra's work becomes important. So what used to happen was, so say for example, the police got me, they hurt me, they killed me, nobody knows that I am no more alive. They would take my corpse, my dead body, and to the cremation ground, and they would get firewood, place me on a firewood, light me up, and then burn me. And the ashes would be just dispersed. Nobody would ever know what happened to me. In the records, for the sake of public, it would be, this guy was unidentified. We don't know who he was. Despite the fact that they knew completely who I was, where I came from, but for their convenience, they would not identify me. But this was only a part of the ways by which they disposed of these bodies. The other one was taking the bodies to a canal. There were a lot of canals through the entire state of Punjab. They would kill this guy and then throw his body in the canal. And the water would just wash it away, and there were reports that a lot of bodies were being discovered where these canals would hit a barrage, where there was a block, and then these bodies would kind of accumulate there, and people would then were pulling out these bodies. Some of these bodies were mutilated beyond recognition, so they were never identified. So when people started disappearing, in that process, two of Khalraji's, Jaswant Singh Khalra's friends, disappeared as well. One of them was Amrik Singh, one of them was Sardar Pyara Singh. Pyara Singh was working with Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra. And Jaswant Singh Khalra was, as you will find out, he came from the background where he was an activist. I think he was a born activist. He just wouldn't take things on face value. He went deeper into the layers in order to figure out if he had made up his mind, he would do that. Nothing would stop him. That was the courage of Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra. And this map brought about by the organization called Insaf, which carried on the work of Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra. They did some research across Punjab, and that's what each dot represents people who were picked up by the cops, tortured, and then eliminated. Some of them, the bodies were given back to the family, and for the most, they were never returned. But this project came a little too late. It happened in early 2000s, and by then a lot of family members had either immigrated or they moved to other villages, or the elderly in the families had already died. So this did not give us the full number, but still it gave us that, yes, these were the people who are still looking for their loved ones. And I remember, it's tough. See this old lady right at the bottom. She's staring at these pictures. These are all pictures of Singhs, Gurtej, who were arrested, were picked up by the police. Their arrests were never recorded. They were tortured. They were killed. They became Shaheed, and this mother is trying to look for her child over there. We still do set up this exhibition titled The Story of Sikh Genocide in India. We were here as well a few months ago. And there is an entry gate we make with pictures of these Singhs on the panels at the entry gate. And for many years, this old lady would come in and stand in front of one of the panels and just keep staring at it. Just keep staring at it. And one time, I'd seen her maybe 3 or 4 years, in a row. And when I was she was standing there one morning. Nobody was there. It was early in the morning, in November, in Yuba City, and California. And I saw her, and I said, well, I'll take my chance. She was alone, and there was nobody else there. And I said, Mataji, thonu kuch chahiye? Are you waiting for someone? Should I get you a chair? And she said, no, I don't need a chair. And she said, I'm here to meet my son. And I said, meet your son? I don't see anybody here. Where is your son? She says, right there. That's my son. That's my son. He comes here every year. I know he'll be here this year too. That's why I came to see him. So that was their last kind of engagement, their meeting, so to speak. I have not seen this old lady since 2023. Maybe she was older, maybe she has died, maybe she is sick, I don't know. So as kids, you'll never realize what a mom goes through when she can't locate her child. You'd like to hide from mom because she always bugs you. You always want to, do things in secret so your parents don't realize. But you don't realize how much pain your parents go through when they're unable to figure out where you are. This is mamata. This is a fact of life. And once you become adults and you have your own kids, your own families, you start to realize this. Yeah, I shouldn't have. I brought in a lot of worry to my mom. It's all driven by love, but we sometimes try to not give it enough importance, how much our parents love us, how fortunate we are as compared to these moms and dads who never even were able to see the face of their dead kids. So Jaswant Singh Khalra, once he found out that Sardar Pyara Singh and Amrik Singh were missing, he devised a plan. He will say here, you will hear from him what he did and how he did it. But just to give you a broader understanding about this, he figured out what could have happened to somebody who was picked up by the police. They got tortured, they got shot, they got killed, and then they should have had one or the other way of disposing of the body. Either they took him to the cremation ground, or they would have thrown his body into a canal. So they visited these cremation grounds. They first visited the Durgana temple cremation ground. That picture I showed you of the firewood and the flames, that was the Durgana Mandir cremation ground. And before he visited with his friend Jaspal Singh, he sent in another friend and alerted the people who were working there. The person who went in first, he reached out to these officials at the cremation ground and told them that officers from the government are coming in to check your records. Do you have them all in order or not? The officers will be here soon. And they said, yeah, we have all the records. So they just wanted to make sure that they were not caught doing things inappropriately. So they had already brought out all the registers and stuff, and so that Jaswant Singh, Khalra, and Jaspal Singh walk in. And when they walk in, now this is a smart move on part of Jaswant Singh, Khalra. And as they walk in, all the registers are there, and these people really they believe that they are officers who have come in to check our records. And they start opening all the records, all the registers, and the officials of the cremation ground, they now want to please these officers. So they leave the premises, they go out to bring some cha, some samosa, some pakode for the officers. And Bhai Jaswant Singh ji gets a chance. He sends his friend Jaspal Singh with these registers to a shop nearby where they make photocopies. And they made copies of all the records that they were able to lay hands on at the Durgana Mandir cremation ground. And that's how the whole I guess, the stories hidden by the government started to unfold, how they came into light. And this map, Google map of Punjab, identifies those 3 cremation grounds which Khalra ji visited. That was in Amritsar, the Durgana temple cremation grounds, in Taran Taran, the Taran Taran cremation grounds, and Patti. He visited these 3 places, specifically the cremation grounds, and asked for all the records. And his modus operandi was the same. He would go in, ask for records, make copies, and then leave. But then he had to figure out who brought these dead bodies. And when he asked somebody at the cremation ground, they told him, well, it was the police. And he said, how many would they bring in? And he said, well, there was no limit to it. On few days, they would bring in 3 or 4. On other days, they would bring a truck full of dead bodies. And sometimes the dead bodies were so many that they didn't have enough wood. So they would put in 2 or 3 dead bodies and use wood meant for just one to cremate it. And as a result, especially in Patti, what happened was, there were these fields right next to the cremation grounds. And the farmers of those, who owned those lands, they were sharing stories about how they would get these dogs and cats, bring in body parts, human body parts into their fields to eat the meat of those body parts belonging to the Gurtej. That was the extent of this pain and trauma and I would say desecration of the bodies of the Gurtej, which was committed by the Indian government. And that investigation, just three of these cremation grounds, they had recovered names and identities of 2,097 secret cremations. And I was going to tell you something about how the cremation ground officials said, told Jaswant Singh was that yes, we get the bodies, but the wood is issued by the municipal corporation office. So why don't you go to the municipal corporation office and they'll give you a full record about, Khalra ji did exactly the same. He went to the municipal corporation office in Amritsar and he was able to identify Amrik Singh, able to find out Pyara Singh, Amrik Singh was an uncle, Chachaji of Harminder Singh Sultanwind. He was a member of the Khalistan Commando Force. He was able to identify the body of, he was able to get the name of the body of Sardar Amrik Singh, who was a brother of Sital Singh Mattewal, who was also a part of one of these militant organizations, Pindranwala Tiger Force, and so many others. Even Manochal, Baba Gurbachan Singh Manochal, his mother's name came up there. She had been picked up by the police, tortured endlessly. When she died, they burned her body in Amritsar, Durgana cremation grounds. And her name was also there. And he was able to find out so many of these people who came from very important families who had been kidnapped, tortured, killed, cremated as unidentified, while they were not unidentified at all. The state wanted to keep everything a secret till Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra, the brave Jaswant Singh Khalra, the courageous Jaswant Singh Khalra came along. And when he brought all his findings, now just for the sake of, these 2,000 bodies were picked up, were identified just in Amritsar district, just in 3 cities of Amritsar district, while there are 17 districts in the state of Punjab. Just imagine how many, if you were to statistically compute how many people could there have been cremated as unidentified. Khalra ji came up with a number of 25,000. 25,000 Gursikh, Naujawan, the youth, the Bibiyan, the Bajurg, all of them included, were killed and their bodies gotten rid of as unidentified. And maybe an equal number, maybe even more, who knows, were actually, their bodies were disposed of in the canals. So Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra became much more active. He took to the streets. He would go to the press and share his information with the government, with the public. The government didn't like it. Khalra ji even went to court and said, we need to know what happened to these people. And the court said, you don't need to know that, because tell us if somebody from your family got killed. And he said, no, none from my family got killed. And they said, well, then you shouldn't have any interest in these other people who were killed. He went to Supreme Court, same thing. No, we won't give you any information. This belongs to the state. And when Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra came up with these names, from these 3 cremation grounds, there was big, huge, hue and cry all over the world. Well. This is what the Punjab's police has been doing all along for the last 10 years. And he held a press conference. KPS Gill first, that was the police chief, who Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra labeled time and again as Julamda in charge, the in charge of the tyranny. KPS Gill, he was the police chief, and he challenged him that we need to know where these brothers and sisters and elder folks from our families, where are their bodies? All we need to know is where their bodies are, were they actually killed or not. Khalra ji even went to families to ask them, is your loving one missing? And people would refuse to share information with him because they were scared. They were so scared that yes, if they gave the names of their loved ones who were in custody of the police, and Khalra ji came up and shared their names with the public, the police might kill them. They may still be alive. While in their heart they knew that their loved one was no more. And this continued for a long time, this back and forth. Finally, KPS Gill held a huge press conference in Amritsar, and amongst all things, he had the audacity of saying, these people are not missing. They have left Punjab. They've gone to the West. Some are in the UK, some in Canada, Europe, some are in the United States. They're working there and making money. These guys, we have nothing to do with eliminating them or killing them in fake encounters. And that's when things became really difficult. And Sardar Khalra, who was just like you and me, He had a beautiful family. His wife, Paramjit Kaur Khalra, his daughter, Navkaran Kaur, their son, Janmeet Singh. It was just a regular family. He was working in a bank, she was working in a library, and they were making their ends meet. Everything was so much fun for this family. But then there were so many others who were calling out to Jaswant Singh Khalra that what will become of us? What will become of us? So Jaswant Singh Khalra visiting, some of these photos I got from the family. Because as a normal person, would behave, have fun with their kids, and but then in his heart, he not only loved his family, but he also had this inner calling. He had to deal with such I guess, those times where he had to decide which way he has to go and how he has to do it, because he knew what the consequences were. He was totally aware of the consequences. And he even says that, this is young Jaswant Singh Khalra in his village, participating in other agitations and stuff. This was in 1987. I was told that he gave up his job in 1985-86, just when he started tracking these unidentified Gurtej who had been eliminated by the police after torture. He started visiting villages, went from home to home, trying to get information from who the loved ones were that were missing in each family. He gathered a good amount of information, and then this was January 16th, 1995. That's when he brought all the information out to the public. And some people say, some of his close associates told him that Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra, we hate to say this, but it seems like you have signed on your own death warrants. And Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra had a press note released to the public, which he said, yes, KPS Gill can silence me, but he cannot silence these thousands of people who he has killed and cremated, or disposed of their bodies in canals as unidentified people. You will not be able to stop them. And this was Jaswant Singh Khalra's conviction. And then he decided, at the advice of his friends, his family, he visited the UK. I guess his family is here, a few of his brothers are here, and they advised him, don't go back. They're going to kill you. We are hearing that they are planning to get rid of you because you wouldn't stop. And Sardar Khalra said, no, I have to go back to my family. When he came to the UK, he met with different, elected officials, ministers, members of parliament. Then he visited Canada, and also spoke in the Canadian parliament. This is a picture. I'm going to show you a small clip of little things that he had said when he was speaking to the members of the Canadian parliament. And I was listening. It's in English. It's a speech in English. It's about 20 minutes long. And I think if you get a chance, if you really are interested in knowing this legacy of Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra in its true sense, you need to listen to him. I can give you a story, but to really get to the bottom of how he was thinking, we need to start listening to him. In his opening remarks, when he is starting to address the members of parliament in Ottawa, Canada, he starts with Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Some people, the reason I'm saying this is because some people say that he was a communist activist. He was a communist. He was maybe a communist. I'm not saying he was a communist. Maybe he had some left leanings. But after 1984, when you hear him, give interviews about Sant Jarnail Singh Khalsa Pind Ramwale, I don't think he had any conflict with what Sant Jarnail Singh Ji Khalsa Pind Ramwale did. I feel a little sad that in today's context, and this is universal, there's nothing to do with the UK. We have not been able to, as grown-ups, not been able to share that Sikhi is more than looking at it using the conservative lens or the liberal lens. We try to define Sikhi either in conservative means using those parameters or liberal yardsticks. That's not Sikhi. Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Sikhi is totally different. And because of that, those leanings, most of our youth feels more comfortable talking about Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra than it feels about talking about Sant Jarnail Singh Ji Khalsa Pindranwale. I have nothing, I'm not comparing the two. I'm just giving you a mindset. Even though the two had same long-term goals. There's a speech of Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra. It is not so, it's not very clearly audible, so I'm not, sharing it here in Austria, where he was very clear about, the Sikhs establishing their own homeland. He was very clear about it. He had no doubts about it. But then he said, what the matter on hand is our human rights. We first need to address the human rights because as time goes by, people will forget about it. So we need to do this as a priority. I have nothing against the long-term goals of achieving Sikh sovereignty. And the other thing which he says when he starts his speaking to these members of parliament, he says, as I was walking up the steps of the parliament, I asked my host, these are his words, I asked my host if I would be permitted into the parliament house with my kirpan. And I was so happy, I felt so much, I felt so good when he told me, yes, you will be allowed to enter the Canadian Parliament with your kirpan. And he said, I'm sad to say this, that the country which I call my own wouldn't allow a member of parliament who won his elections with the highest margin ever to enter the parliament with a kirpan. And he talks about one line in the Indian Constitution where they say a Sikh has the right to bear his kirpan at all times. And it doesn't specify the length of it. But the Indian Parliament didn't allow Simranjit Singh Mann to enter the building with his big kirpan. So he then, when he was in Canada, again, people suggested, they advised him to not return to Punjab. And he said, no, I have to go back and be with my people. And this picture, you can get this online. I wanted to share this with you because I don't think he had any hesitation sitting at the desk of Khalistan Liberation Movement International and be photographed. I mean, I think that is ample evidence that the Jaswant Singh Khalra had no opposition to Sikhs fighting or achieving sovereignty and independence from Punjab. But at the same time, now this is again, my assumption. I would hate to put this into Khalraji's mind, but I'm thinking of if I was in his shoes, maybe, I mean, I would be so lucky. If I was in his shoes, I would be going through the same predicament because he was in the UK and I'm sure he was thinking about his family. And Navkiran Kaur gave me this picture of a little note. It says, Dear Navkiran and Janmeet, it's a note from Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra, their father. Dear Navkiran and Jasmeet, Sat Sri Akal, I'm quite well here and wish you will be all right. Pray God to help us to unite and live together a happy life. Your father, Jaswant Singh Sandhu. Just imagine, here is a father who is carrying this huge weight on this responsibility of the Panth on his shoulders. And at the same time, he is also responsible for his family. He hasn't abandoned them. He still has them in his heart. He wants them and him to be a part of his family. But he knows that the path that he has chosen will not allow him to be with the family for a long time. So when he returned to Punjab, Khalraji's father when he was all over the news that he had been to the UK, to Canada, and he had released all this information, and there was large hue and cry, and people were saying, "Thu, thu, shame, shame" to KPS Gill and another rest of India's administration, his father said, "Well, the police is going to come after you, and then we'll have to be, they'll drag us to the police station and harm us." And Khalra said, "Dad, you don't have to worry about this. They'll only drag you if they don't find me. I'm not going to run away. Let them come on." So I was so amazed, Khalra ji. I mean, if the police were after me and having been through all that torture and how much pain it causes, I would not even spend a night in my house. I wouldn't like to be there. I would, either I go to court or I go to, hide with somebody else and seek some resolution so that the police doesn't hurt me, doesn't catch me. But Khalra ji, he came out of his bedroom and his bed, he put it in his living room, right next to the entrance. And he said, when the police come in, they don't even have to go to the bedroom to get me. I'll be right at the door. That was his courage. That was how strong he was. That was his conviction that, yes, come what may, I'm going to go to the bottom of this. And I think deep in his heart, not only he really had a lot of respect for all these shaheeds, he wanted to become a part of them. It was his desire. And I think you will hear that from one of his lectures. This is the lecture he gave in Ontario called Sadarbar Gurdwara in Ontario, Canada. And I think this was in June of 1995. That was, they say, perhaps his last lecture. Maybe he also stopped in Austria, Vienna in Austria, to see his brother before he went back to Punjab. And this other lecture I'm talking about, his faith in achieving Sikh sovereignty, he mentioned that in that lecture. So let's listen to him here. Just for those who have never heard Khalra ji before, or this specific lecture before, he starts off with a little story, a little fable. And he talks about when the world was created, the sun was about to set. The people became very worried. They were very fearful. Oh my God, the sun is going to set. What's going to happen? How are we going to survive the darkness? And dusk came, darkness enveloped the whole world, and then soon one Deepak, one Diva. Tomorrow is Diwali, you will perhaps be lighting this Dive. Don't forget Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra ji. Because when I met the eyewitness for Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra, the guy who witnessed all of this, he told me that Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra became Shaheed on October 28th. The family commemorates him on September 6th, the day he was picked up by the police. So he gives this example, uses this metaphor, where one Deepak raises its head, its flame, and he challenges the darkness, and he says, come what may, yeah, sure, the darkness may be all around, but I'm not going to let darkness come around me. And following his lead, thousands of other Deepak kind of lit up. And soon, the whole world was bright again. And I think, even though he didn't mean it personally, I think he was talking about himself, that in this era of tyranny, all the darkness which had engulfed Punjab, there was no justice. That Jaswant Singh Khalra was that Deepak which brought light to that era of darkness. What did he say?
सूरज पहली बार अस्तन लगा सी ਤਾਂ ਜਿਉਂ-ਜਿਉਂ ਉਹ ਆਪਣਾ ਪੰਧ ਮੁਕਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ, ਚਾਨਣ ਘਟ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ। ਹਨੇਰੇ ਦੀ ਆਮਦ ਦੇ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨ ਪ੍ਰਗਟ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਲੋਕਾਂ 'ਚ ਹਾਹਾਕਾਰ ਮਚ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਸੂਰਜ ਛਿਪ ਜਾਊਗਾ, ਹਨੇਰਾ ਪਸਰ ਜਾਊਗਾ, ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਛ ਦਿਸੂ ਨਾ ਤੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਕੀ ਬਣੂਗਾ। ਦੁਨੀਆ ਫਿਕਰਮੰਦ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਸੂਰਜ ਅਸਤਿਆ। ਹਨੇਰੇ ਨੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਵਿਖਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਧਰਤੀ ਤੇ ਪੈਰ ਪਾਇਆ, ਪਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਦੂਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਝੌਂਪੜੀ ਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਦੀਪਕ ਨੇ ਸਿਰ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ। ਉਸਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਹਨੇਰੇ ਨੂੰ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਕਰਦਾ, ਹੋਰ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਲੇ ਦੁਆਲੇ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਾਗੇ ਲੱਗਣ ਦਿਆਂਗਾ, ਆਪਣੇ ਆਲੇ ਦੁਆਲੇ ਤਾਂ ਚਾਨਣ ਕਾਇਮ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ। ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਦੀਪਕ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਹਰ ਝੁੱਗੀ ਝੌਂਪੜੀ 'ਚ ਇੱਕ ਦੀਪਕ ਉੱਠਿਆ ਤੇ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਹੈਰਾਨ ਰਹਿ ਗਈ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਪਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਹਨੇਰੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਸਰ ਨੂੰ ਰੋਕਿਆ ਤੇ ਲੋਕ ਦੇਖ ਸਕੇ। ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਜਦੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਹਨੇਰਾ ਪੂਰੇ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੱਚ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਫਤਿਹ ਪਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਲਲਕਾਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ, ਤਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਕਹੂੰਗਾ ਅਣਖੀਲਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਇੱਕ ਦੀਪਕ ਦੀ ਨਿਆਈ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਤੇ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰਦਾ ਕਿ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਇਸ ਜੋਤ ਨੂੰ ਜਗਦੀ ਰੱਖੇ। ਮੈਂ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਖਾਸ ਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਦੇਸ਼ 'ਚ ਆਇਆ, ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਛੋਟਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੇ ਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਵਿਸ਼ਾ ਬਣਾਇਆ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਛੋਟਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਹੈ।
So ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ he talks about the human rights, the issue of human rights, and this entire speech is about 40 minutes long. We just have 5 clips here that I would like to share with you. So what he said, as I mentioned earlier, he said he talks about this Deepak. He doesn't use the word Diva. I'm astonished, you know. Diva is used in Gurbani, but the Deepak is also, you know, it's a beautiful word, you know, Deepak, Uthya. Just, I'm sure you noticed, you observed his eyes, you know, the passion. If you haven't, you will in the next clips as well. He's not worried, he's fearless. He's fearless. He is just openly expressing his opinion to the Sangat here. And I feel that even though he never claimed to be a leader, but he has become a great role model for the Panth, for the youth, for all of us. I think it's important that we think the way he was thinking if we really want the Panth to progress in the right direction. We are dealing, the times we are in right now, these are dire times, really dire times. And it will need all of us to come together to deal with it. Unfortunately, I'm not sure about here, but in a general sense, I think the Gurdwaras are not stepping up for us to come together and achieve our goals as a Qaum, as a Panth. I think we need something better than what the Panth is experiencing through its Gurdwaras today. Now in this clip, he explains why he is doing what he is doing. What has driven him to pick up this challenge? Just listen to him.
ਇੱਕ ਰਿਪੋਰਟ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਆਏ ਸਾਂ। ਉਹ ਰਿਪੋਰਟ ਜੋ ਪਿਛਲੇ 10 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਬਰ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਨੂੰ ਬਿਆਨ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਉਸ ਰਿਪੋਰਟ ਨੂੰ ਜਦ ਅਸੀਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗੇ ਸਾਂ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਸੈਂਕੜੇ ਰਿਪੋਰਟਾਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ, ਪਰ ਇੱਕ ਸਵਾਲ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਰਿਪੋਰਟਾਂ 'ਚੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਜਵਾਬ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਦੇ ਰਿਹਾ। ਉਹ ਸਵਾਲ ਇਹ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਹਜ਼ਾਰਾਂ ਮਾਵਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੁੱਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਡੀਕ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਚਾਹੇ ਕਈਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਪੁੱਤ ਹੁਣ ਇਸ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਤੇ ਜਰਮਾਨਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਛੱਡਿਆ, ਪਰ ਮਾਂ ਦਾ ਦਿਲ ਐਸਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਪੁੱਤ ਦੀ ਲਾਸ਼ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਵੀ ਯਕੀਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੀ ਕਿ ਉਹਦਾ ਪੁੱਤ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਛੱਡ ਗਿਆ। ਤੇ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਮਾਵਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਾਇਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਦੇਖੀਆਂ, ਉਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੇ ਸਵਾਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਤਾ ਕਰ ਦਿਓ ਕਿ ਸਾਡਾ ਪੁੱਤ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੀਰ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਹੱਥਾਂ 'ਚ ਫੜੀਆਂ ਰੱਖੜੀਆਂ ਵੀਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਸੀ। ਕਈ ਬੀਬੀਆਂ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਘਰੋਂ ਤੋਰਨ ਲਈ ਰੋਕੇ ਖੜੇ ਸਨ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਮੰਗੀਆਂ ਸੀ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵਿਆਹੁਣੀਆਂ ਸੀ, ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੇ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ। ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ, ਸਾਡੀ ਰਵਾਇਤ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਧੀ ਉਹਦੀ ਹੈ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਆਊਗਾ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ। ਇਸ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ ਤਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਤੇ ਅੰਕੜੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਕਿ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਪੁੱਤ, ਕਿੰਨੇ ਭਰਾ, ਕਿੰਨੇ ਪਤੀ ਤੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਲਾਪਤਾ ਨੇ। ਪਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਵਿਸ਼ੇ ਤੇ ਗੱਲ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤੀ ਤਾਂ ਅਨੇਕਾਂ ਮਾਵਾਂ, ਅਨੇਕਾਂ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਕਹਿਣ ਲਈ ਤਿਆਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੀਆਂ ਸੀ, ਪੁੱਤ ਜੇ ਗੱਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗਾਹ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀ, ਸਾਡਾ ਪੁੱਤ ਜਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਉਹ ਮਾਰ ਦੇਣਗੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਨਾ ਕਰਿਓ, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੱਸਣਾ। ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਰਫ ਜਿਹਾ ਐਸਟੀਮੇਟ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਇਕੱਲੇ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਸਰ ਜ਼ਿਲ੍ਹੇ 'ਚ 2000 ਬੱਚੇ ਲਾਪਤਾ ਹੈ। ਸਰਕਾਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸੇ ਕਿ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਨੇ। ਸਰਕਾਰ ਚੁੱਪ ਸੀ। ਅਸੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਕੁਝ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਹਾਈ ਕੋਰਟ 'ਚ ਪਟੀਸ਼ਨਾਂ ਕਰਾਈਆਂ ਕਿ ਦੱਸੋ ਇਹ ਬੱਚੇ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਨੇ। ਤਾਂ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਹਲਫੀਆ ਬਿਆਨ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ। ਜਦੋਂ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਰ ਅੱਗੇ ਵਧੀ ਤਾਂ ਜ਼ੁਲਮ ਦੇ ਇੰਚਾਰਜ ਨੇ, KPS ਗਿੱਲ ਨੇ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਸਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਮਨੁੱਖੀ ਅਧਿਕਾਰ ਵਿੰਗ ਵਾਲੇ ਮਨੁੱਖੀ ਅਧਿਕਾਰਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਕੁਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਮੋਟਿਵ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਖੜੀ ਕਰੀ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬ 'ਚ ਕਿਤੇ ਅਮਨ ਨਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ। ਤੇ ਇਹ ISI ਦੇ ਏਜੰਟ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਮਸ਼ੀਨਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਡਿਸਕਰਜ ਕਰਕੇ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਮਿਲੀਟੈਂਸੀ ਆਭਾਰ ਲਈ ਸਾਜ਼ਿਸ਼ਾਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। KPS ਗਿੱਲ ਨੇ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਉਹ ਬੱਚੇ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਹੈ। ਉਸਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਬੱਚੇ ਯੂਰਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਿਆਰੀਆਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਤੇ ਇਹ ਮਨੁੱਖੀ ਅਧਿਕਾਰ ਸੰਗਠਨ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਹਜ਼ਾਰਾਂ ਬੱਚੇ ਲਾਪਤਾ ਨੇ। ਇੱਕ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਸੀਗਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ, ਇੱਕ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਸੀ ਉਸ ਹਕੀਕਤ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਲਿਆਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਸਾਂ। ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਭਰਾਓ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਹਕੀਕਤ ਨੂੰ ਸਬੂਤਾਂ ਸਹਿਤ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਮੁਹਿੰਮ 'ਚ ਪਾਇਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਈਆਂ ਖਤਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਸਾਹਮਣਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਿਆ। ਲੇਕਿਨ ਅਸੀਂ ਗਏ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਭਰਾ ਗਏ ਸੀ,
ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਭਰਾ ਗਏ ਸੀ। ਮੈਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ, ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਹੀ ਸੀ ਬਈ Khalra ji decided to visit the cremation grounds to look for if the bodies of these missing Gursikhs had been cremated there. And he was successful. His hunch was right. His hunch was right. And that's what he is, in this clip, that's what he is saying, that he understands the sorrow the pain that these moms, these sisters, these women who have been engaged to marry these young men, what were they going through? What were they going through? And they were so scared as well. They didn't want to tell Khalra ji, disclose their loved ones' names, because they were scared that if they did, maybe if there is a small chance that their loved one is still alive, he's going to get killed just because we went public. So we don't want to go public. And he is, again, so fearlessly challenging the establishment. He names KPS Gill and what his ridiculous claims are, that these 6 have not been killed or tortured or killed, but they are actually making money, earning their livelihoods in the West. So let's go through this next clip. He shares the whole how was he able to track these bodies. It's a 3-minute long clip.
ਉੱਥੇ ਡਿਊਟੀਆਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਮੁਲਾਜ਼ਮਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੰਨਾ ਕੀ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਓ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਸਮੇਂ 'ਚ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਕਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਸੀ। ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਕਵੇ ਅਸੀਂ 8-10 ਰੋਜ਼ ਦੀਆਂ ਸਾੜਦੇ ਸਾਂ, ਕੋਈ ਕਹੇ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕਦੀ ਟਰੱਕ ਪੂਰਾ ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ, ਕਦੀ 2-4 ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਸੀ। ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ, ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਥਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਮਿਲ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ। ਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦਿੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਬਾਲਣ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਊਨਿਸਪਲ ਕਮੇਟੀ ਦਿੰਦੀ ਸੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮਿਊਨਿਸਪਲ ਕਮੇਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਿਯਮ ਨੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਕਿ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਾਵਾਰਸ ਲਾਸ਼ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਮਿਲੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੀ ਮਿਊਨਿਸਪੈਲਿਟੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਖਰਚੇ ਤੇ ਸੰਸਕਾਰ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ, ਕੋਈ ਕੁਦਰਤੀ ਇਹ ਰਾਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਗਿਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੇਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਲਾਪਤਾ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਦਾ ਪੂਰਾ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਪਿਆ ਸੀ। ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਰੋਜ਼ਾਨਾ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਬਾਲਣ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਪਿਆ ਸੀ। ਉੱਥੇ ਇਹ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਪਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਕਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਅਫਸਰ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਅੱਗੇ ਗਏ ਤਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਪਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਥਾਣੇਦਾਰ ਕਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਇਆ। ਤੇ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਅੱਗੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੀ ਹੰਕਾਰ ਚ ਆ ਜਾਵੇ ਜਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਰੱਬ ਭੁੱਲ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਉਹ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਕਾਰਵਾਈਆਂ ਕਰਦਾ ਕਿ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਕਾਰਵਾਈਆਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਹਕੀਕਤ ਨੂੰ ਨੰਗਿਆ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਗੀਆਂ, ਜਾਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਦੇਸੀ ਢੰਗ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਚੋਰ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨ ਛੱਡ ਜਾਂਦਾ। ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਚੋਰਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੰਨੇ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨ ਛੱਡ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੈਰਾਨ ਰਹਿ ਗਏ ਕਿ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਸਰ ਜ਼ਿਲ੍ਹੇ ਦੇ 3 ਸ਼ਹਿਰਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਮਿਊਨਿਸਪਲ ਕਮੇਟੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਸ਼ਮਸ਼ਾਨ ਘਾਟਾਂ 'ਚ 6017 ਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਅਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਸਨ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸਾਫ਼ ਲਿਖੀਆਂ ਸਨ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਸਿੱਖ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਉਮਰ 15 ਤੋਂ 35 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਦਰਮਿਆਨ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਉਹ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਲਿਖੀਆਂ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਬੀਬੀਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਵੀ ਨੇ। ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੈਰਾਨ ਹੋਏ ਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇੱਥੇ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਵੀ ਨੇ, ਚਾਹੇ ਉਹ ਕੁਝ % ਸੀ। ਤੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉੱਥੇ ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਮਾਤਾਵਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਲਾਸ਼ਾਂ ਵੀ ਨੇ। ਉੱਥੇ ਮਾਤਾ ਗੁਰਮੇਜ ਕੌਰ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਮਾਨੋਚਾ ਜੰਮਿਆ ਸੀ, ਉਹਦੀ ਲਾਸ਼ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਭੀ। ਉੱਥੇ ਬੀਬੀ ਮਹਿੰਦਰ ਕੌਰ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਪਰਮਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਪੰਜਵੜ ਜੰਮੇ, ਉਹਦੀ ਲਾਸ਼ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਭੀ। ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਹਰਮਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਸੁਲਤਾਨਗੰਜ ਦੇ ਚਾਚੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਪਿਆਰਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੀ ਲਾਸ਼ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਭੀ।
You might have caught this up when he says they were able to figure out the names of 6,000 youths in these 3 cremation grounds. So 6,000 which the police have admitted as having a name and an address. out of these, 2,000 were those who were disposed of as unidentified, even though they had their names and whereabouts and their addresses. So the total of people who were cremated in these cremation grounds, which Khalra and Jaswant Singh and the rest of his team were able to get to the bottom of, was a total of 6,000. And I've already shared this with you, so I'm not going to give you a whole explanation of what Khalra was saying in this clip. Just as a repetition, all the record he has is from 3 municipal corporations of Amritsar, and let's see what he says when he's next to it.
This is
an important clip. This is a Siddhant clip. It may have nothing to do with disappearances, but this gives us an insight into how Khalra how he looks at the whole,
how the India, the Punjab, how the demographics, how he splits it. He does it in such a beautiful way. He says that there are not one, but 3 Punjabs. I'm going to give you this background before he says, because I want you to understand this, get it all in. He says there are 3 Punjabs. First Punjab, he says, is the one which accepted and adopted the lifestyle of the invaders who came from beyond the Hindu Kush. That means from Persia, from Turkey, the Mughals, the Ghaznavis, the Abdalis. So when they came in, they converted those people who were living in Punjab. They forced them to, or people actually accepted Islam as the way of life. That's one Punjab. And then he says there's another Punjab, which starts right from the east, where Delhi is, the Jamuna River is. That's the other Punjab. And the story of that Punjab, he describes in such an eloquent way. He gives an example of Nadir Shah invading and massacring the residents of Delhi. And then he says, this Punjab, who follows the Vedic religion, they have this habit of surrendering before the invaders, no matter how much torture, how much trauma they cause. And then he gives us the historical story from Nadir Shah's time, where once Nadir Shah had massacred these residents of Delhi. The Hindus of Delhi, he doesn't use the word Hindu, the Hindus of Delhi brought their wives and daughters and had them dance and entertain Nadir Shah. They brought Nadir Shah gifts and said, well, we want to give you these Nazrane, take these from us, thank you for coming to Delhi, despite all the massacre, all the trauma that he had caused. And then he says, there's the third Punjab. And that's the real Ankhila Punjab, the one which keeps pride in his heart, the Ankhila Punjab. And he says that's that Punjab, when Guru Gobind Singh Ji asked for their heads, they offered their heads to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And that Punjabi was no longer a Punjabi, because that Punjabi became a Khalsa. Listen to Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra.
Punjab 3 ਨੇ 3 ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਉਹ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਨੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਤੋਂ ਵੈਦਿਕ ਸੱਭਿਆਚਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਅਲਵਿਦਾ ਕਹਿ ਕੇ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਕੁਸ਼ ਪਰਬਤ ਦੇ ਪਾਰੋਂ ਆਏ ਵਿਚਾਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਰੋਂ ਆਏ ਰਾਜਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਪਣਾ ਕੇ ਇੱਕ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਅੱਡ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ। ਇੱਕ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ ਉਹ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਰਵਾਇਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਭੁੱਲਿਆ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਰਵਾਇਤਾਂ ਕਰਕੇ ਹਰ ਦੂਜੇ ਤੀਜੇ ਮਹੀਨੇ ਮੁਹੰਮਦ ਗਜ਼ਨਵੀ ਆ ਚੜ੍ਹਦਾ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਬੰਨੇ ਝੋਲੀਆਂ ਵਿਛਾ ਕੇ ਜੋ ਮੰਗਦਾ ਸੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ। ਉਹ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਕਲਚਰ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਜਿਹਨੇ उस हिस्से में अडॉप्ट किया है। इतिहास के विच एक निक्की जी घटना आती है, नादर शाह ने जब दिल्ली से हमला किया, उन्हें इन्ना जुल्म किया, इन्ना जबर किया कि उसकी अपनी आत्मा भी कंबन लगी। तो शाम को वो कहन लगा अपने सेनापतियों कि आप छेती वापस चले जाइए, जिन्ना जुल्म किया है ਉਹਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਮੀਰ ਜਾਗ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਸਮੱਸਿਆ ਖੜੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। ਇਤਿਹਾਸ 'ਚ ਦਰਜ ਹੈ, ਉਸ ਮੌਕੇ ਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਿਦਵਾਨ ਨੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਤਜਰਬੇਕਾਰ ਵਜ਼ੀਰ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਦੋਂ ਤਾਂ ਵਜ਼ੀਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਪਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਦਰਬਾਰ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਾਨ ਸੀ, ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਨਾਦਰ ਸ਼ਾਹ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਤੇਰੀ ਗਲਤ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ इतिहास जिन्ना वध जबर किया है उन्ने वध नजराने भेंट किए, तो तू देखेगा कल नूं की होगा। तो भराओ मैं फिरका परस्ती के आधार पर नहीं कह रहा, यह हिस्टोरिकल सच्चाई है कि अगले दिन नादर शाह के दरबार दे विच नाले बहु बेटियां नूं नचाया गया, नाले नजराने भेंट किए गए, नाले शुकराने भेंट किए गए। एक वो भी पंजाब है। तो तिना पंजाबों के हिस्से ने, तीन तरह के पंजाबी ने। एक वो भी पंजाब है जिन्हें दसम पिता दे इशारे से अपने सिर भेंट कर देते। एक वो भी पंजाबी है जिन्हें अपनी अणख की खातर तक की, जिन्हें दुनिया की इज्जत बचाने लई, जिन्हें दिल्ली की इज्जत बचाने लई अपने आप को वार दिता, वो भी एक पंजाब है। तो जी ये गलतफहमी कि हर कोई पंजाबी है ते हर पंजाबी अणख वाला है, मैं कहना ये एक गलत धारणा है। तो जेड़ा पंजाब विच वसदा अणख वाला पंजाबी है, वो पंजाबी तो रहा ही नहीं, क्योंकि जो पंजाबियों की डिवीजन हुई तो वो तो खालसा सज गया। अणखीला पंजाब वो आ जरा गुरु का खालसा है। अणखीला पंजाब वो है जरा सच्चियों अणख की जिंदगी जीवन के वास्ते तड़पदा है।
He starts his speech with Unqila Punjab and he defines Unqila Punjab. And he proves to the world that he is a part of that Unqila Punjab. And now it's up to us if we want to become a part of that Unqila Punjab or not. I already described, just shared with you, I just explained to you what he said. Let's go to the next clip. This perhaps would be the last but one clip. Just, I hope you, if not more important, at least as important as the clip that you just heard. What does or should a Sikh aspire to get, the goal of a Sikh? From his perspective, he is going to share it.
So, मेरे भराओ गुरु पास अरदास करो कि सच्चियों असीं अणखीले बने रहिए। जिस काम लई सानू साजिया गया सी ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਪਹਿਰਾ ਦੇ ਸਕੀਏ, गुरु ਦੀਆਂ खुशियां प्राप्त कर ਸਕੀਏ। गुरु तो सब कुछ मंगते हैं, गुरु तो एक दात असीं मंगते नहीं डरते। गुरु को बड़ियां दातां ने, पर सब तो वड्डी दात सतगुरां कोल किहड़ी है? सब तो वड्डी दात दुध दी नहींगी, पुੱਤ ਦੀ नहींगी। ते गुरु हुण गद्दी भी किसे नूं नहीं देंदे, किसे साध नूं हुण गुरु नहीं बना सकते। गुरु ने जद गुरगद्दी श्री गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब जी नूं दे दित्ती सी तां ਉਹਦੇ कोल एक विशेष दात सी ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ मर्जी सिख लै सकदा है। ते उस विशेष दात नूं गुरां दे तो बाद ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੰਨਾ ਸਤਿਕਾਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਵਿਸ਼ੇਸ਼ ਦਾਤ ਹੈ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਹੈ ਸ਼ਹਾਦਤ ਦੀ ਦਾਤ। ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਦਾਤ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਦੇ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਗੁਰੂ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਸਾਡੀ ਕੌਮ ਦੇ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਸਤਿਕਾਰਤ ਲੋਕ ਬਣਦੇ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਜੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਿਸਮਤ 'ਚ ਇਹ ਦਾਤ ਨਹੀਂ, ਜੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਨੇ ਅਜੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੰਨੀ ਮੱਤ ਬੁੱਧ ਤਾਕਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੱਤੀ, ਤਾਂ ਘੱਟੋ ਘੱਟ ਉਸ ਦਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਸਿਰ ਝੁਕਾਇਆ ਕਰੋ। ਉਸ ਦਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਤਮੰਨਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਰਿਆ ਕਰੋ। ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਮਿਹਰ ਕਰੇ, ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਮੰਗ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਬਾਕੀ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਦਾਤਾਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਦੇ ਦਊਗਾ।
जो तो प्रेम का चाओ सिर तर तली गली मेरी आओ, एक मार्ग पैर चल जाए सिर दी जाए कान में जाए। ये हुक्म गुरु जी का सारे सिखा वास्ते साझा है। उस हुक्म को सरदार जसवंत सिंह खालड़ा is sharing in his own words, and I think nobody can miss this
love in his heart for the Shaheeds of the Panth, and how he wants us to yearn for Shaheedi, but actually he is sharing his own yearning, his own longing to become a Shaheed. And I think that in this darbar, Guruji did grant him his wish. And when he went back, he was arrested. I have this clip which is about 2 minutes long. I don't think shared enough of what Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra meant in his life and in his Shaheedi. We just need to start to understand and go and make those ideals, if possible, if we are fortunate, part of our own life. This clip is a few of his sentences. He speaks to the Canadian Parliament. So when he went back to Punjab, he was picked up, he was kidnapped by the police on September 6th. And I met this person, his name is Kuldeep Singh Bachada. He was the witness of the torture and killing of Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra. And I think if you go on my Instagram handle, 2 years ago, in 23 in September, we have a small clip of him sharing the same incident that I'm going to share with you. He said, me and my officer, we were asked to bring Khalra ji to the mansion, to the bungalow of Ajit Singh Sandhu, a few miles from Chabal police station on GT Road. And he said Khalra ji was barely able to walk. He wasn't even able to walk. He was so traumatized. He'd experienced so much trauma that we had to support him from each side, have him sit in the car. And we drove him to Jandiala, brought him into this mansion, and we helped him get into this big room where there was one table and a few chairs around it. It was an empty room. And my officer stayed back, and I went back and sat in the car which we had brought Sardar Khalra ji. And soon I heard the sound of hooters, all those sirens, and a big convoy of police cars entered into that mansion. And once they went in, I just imagined, I said, well, this seems like KPS Gill has just arrived to have a face-to-face with Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra. And he said they had spent about 30 minutes. I got my call on my wireless to come in, and we again, everybody had left by then. We supported Khalra ji, brought him back to the car. And my officer who was driving the car turned back and addressed Khalra. And Khalra was sitting in the back seat, and he had absolutely no fear, no emotion, no regret, nothing, we could see on his face. And the officer said, "Oh Khalra, ਜੇ ਤੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਮੰਨ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਨਾ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸਮੱਸਿਆ ਨਾ ਹੁੰਦੀ." And Khalra, he said, it was in so much poise and dignity, he didn't even respond to what the officer said. We drove him back to Chibal police station. Apparently that day was October 28th, 1995. Brought him back to the station. And he said this off camera that they were preparing to torture him again, to coerce him to accept what KPS Gill had offered him, which Khalra had refused. And they asked me, the officers asked me to go warm some water, have Khalra drink it so that we could begin torturing him again. But soon, I was in there and I heard a gunshot, and they asked me to come out, and I saw Khalra was slumped on the floor. They had shot him in the head. They picked up his body. I picked up his body with another SPO. He was a special police officer. He's the lowest rank of the ranks in the police hierarchy. We dumped his body into the Maruti car, and we drove to Harike. Harike is where the river Satluj and river Beas and river Satluj meet, and there's a huge water body, and a couple of canals kind of emerge from that water body. And we drove downstream on one of those rivers, those canals, CBI, and shared all the details. And if I'm not, 7 of those police officers are behind bars for this unlawful kidnapping, torture, and killing of Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra. The sad part is the higher-ups who were involved in this kidnapping and torture went scot-free. They went scot-free, but they were not pain-free. Ajit Singh Sandhu was the SSP of Tarantaran. Some people say that he was killed. Some people say he was so depressed that he committed suicide. And KPS Gill died a miserable death himself. So this is Bibi Paramjit Kaur Khalra with a portrait of her husband standing in front of their house, the very place where their car was parked, which he was washing at the time when the police came and kidnapped him. So this is the end. Now the challenge is upon us. Khalra was able to discover those shaheeds, and give name to these bodies who were cremated as unidentified. But our challenges today remain as such, and we have new challenges. How are we going to come together and improve the fate of the Panth? That's a big challenge. Right now, I think we are fighting a losing battle. I think the youth has very little, and I'm talking about in terms of the proportion of youth who are interested in the future of Sikhi. We all have our own priorities. But even us who claim to have some leanings towards Sikhi, we are not willing to get out of our comfort zones. When I asked, I was 6 months ago, I was in London, we had that exhibition set up, and I had a lecture like this. And once the lecture was over, this young bachi, she came up to me and she said, "What can I do? What can I do?" And I asked her how old she was, and she said I was 21. And I asked her, I said, "Well, do you know Punjabi?" And she says, "I can understand Punjabi, but I can't speak Punjabi." And I said, "Well, how about Japji Sahib?" She says, "No, I don't know Japji Sahib." I said, "So you don't even know how to read Japji Sahib? You don't know it by heart?" And she says, "No, I don't. I can barely read Panj Paudhiyan from my phone." And you get all, what? Oh God, we're going to do something about it. But then there is another thing which I call is passion. Sardar Jaswant Singh Khalra had this passion. Ek hunda jazba, te ek hunda ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਨੂਨ, ਜਨੂਨ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਜਨੂਨ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਕਦੇ ਗੁੱਸੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਉਹ ਇੰਪੇਸ਼ੈਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਆਬਸਟੀਕਲ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਰਾਹ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਵੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਰੋਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦਾ, ਉਹ ਉਹਦੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਲੰਘ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਗੋਲ ਨੂੰ ਰੀਚ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜਜ਼ਬਾਤੀ ਬੰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਮੋਸ਼ਨਲ ਬੰਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਅੱਜ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉੱਠੂਗਾ, ਹਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਕੁਛ ਕਰਾਂ, ਪਰ ਮੋਮੈਂਟ ਯੂ ਲੀਵ ਦਿਸ hall, you walk out of the door, somebody texts you, somebody messages you, you got your own Instagram handle, you want to check how many likes and how many this and how many that you got on it, and all of this evaporates. All of this evaporates. Where is that commitment? And I think that to some extent your indifference, your apathy has something to do with how the gurdwaras are run. I think that plays there's so many other reasons for it. I totally get it. But I think if the gurdwaras were run in a better way, we could perhaps accomplish more than we have. I'm scared that your generation, maybe some of you will be able to salvage your future, but your generation is going to join the one before you, which I call the lost generation. There were people who died in that genocide, and I think we are in the midst of another genocide. And nobody is going to talk to you about, what our birth rate is, 1.6. Our birth rate of 1.6. The birth rate which sustains the civilization is 2.1, 2.2. We are 1.6. So on an average, each family has only 1.6 kids. What this means is that in the next 2 generations, in the coming 2 generations, that is 50 years from now, if we don't change the way we look at life and our families, in the next 50 years, 2 generations, our population will decline by 40%. Who's responsible for that? Who's responsible for that? KPS Gill or Indira Gandhi? That's something nobody talks to you guys about. You have this love for Sikhi. But are we doing enough for Sikhi? We are doing enough for Sikhi from a personal standpoint. We do Santhya, we learn Gurbani by heart, we do so many good things, we live a life full of, maintaining our rahat. But if we really care about the Panth, I think, I could go on for another hour talking about this stuff. But we are headed towards trouble. I think trouble is a small word. I think we are headed towards a catastrophe. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸੋ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ। ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ travel from California to go here in UK. So Baba ji will also be doing a talk at G&G on Wednesday. So ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ please remember that. Bole so nihal next week we have who will be talking about the rise in homeschooling and Sikh families. So please we consider as a special guest who will from Canada by Singh will be on the Sikh Federation Federation of Area. Doing a book on sacrifice and sovereignty. So whatever please let's change some names at the back. So Sadish,